Kuzongpo, I'm Ashok Tirwa. This week we have Mr. Sontosh Goenka. He comes from a family which founded the paper called Indian Express. He started his career as a young man and eventually achieved a lot in his life. His greatest achievement is that he has mentored many young people in India who are doing well today. So I thought it would be a good story to hear, especially when we have many young people in Bhutan who are looking for inspirations and ideas to do something on their own. Welcome, sir.
Thank
So how long you have been mentoring young people in India?
Actually, it's over 2 decades that I've been mentoring people. And this happened because when I started my career at the Express, I was a young mentee myself. And I learned from the people who worked within my company, that is Indian Express, in the areas of circulation, distribution, news dissemination. I learned from them about what mattered to the newspaper and media trade. And during those days, my grandfather was the main driving force within the Indian Express, and we had to get some newness when we started working there because earlier the company was run by virtually him looking at everything. When we came in, we brought in younger people, and we saw that young people could do a lot more. They could spend a lot more time, and the experience of the first decade within the Indian Express gave me the confidence that young people can do anything. I myself started when I was 18 years old. I was doing my graduation in Bangalore, and I was doing work at the Indian Express in the different departments to get acclimatized to the company. And during the time after the 10 years of working there, I got the support of young people to build what I had to make Indian Express unique in India. Now, that was the time that I saw the power of youth. I myself spent almost 20 hours working at the press, interacted with my editors, supported them. And then I found that a lot of new things which were coming in journalism could only come with young blood. I think every youth should try his hands on writing, on expressing. And in today's universe, you have more visual media, so it's, even the visual part that needs to take focus. In 1994, I developed almost 30 B2B titles for the Indian Express. Some of them were relating to industries like the IT industry, which is doing very well, the textile industry, the pharma industry. And during these learning phases of mine at the Express, as a publisher, as an editor-in-chief for these publications, I started finding that we had to go to people who were not the best editors or editorial people, but they had curiosity to know. I think everyone has a hidden curiosity within, and everybody has his determination to do well in life. Several examples come to me, and today the very living example. Today we have a seminar at the Tashi Taj, and we have a gentleman called Mr. A.G. Iyer, who's a true example of one of the many that I have mentored.
Okay.
In 1995, what had happened was he came in as a writer for a publication called Express Business Avenues. And this was a journal which was focused towards the business community. And AG was writing a column on energy.
You actually asked him to write.
Yes,
Or he came for.
he came in as a friend coming to meet me at my office because we got introduced to some common friends. And I said, you speak very well on the energy. Why don't you write? Typically, what has happened is journalism has been more guarded. They don't allow newer people to come in. But my policy because it was my family business, I could do what I wanted. I started getting people with industry domain knowledge to start writing. There are several examples. I mean, there is another person who was a doctor, and he came in. He said, "I'm not too excited about being a doctor. Why can't I write on medicine?" I said, "Fair enough. We have a healthcare publication. Why don't you start writing?" So that's another example. And today they are big editors in the healthcare. And Professor Iyer is an expert. He's an editor-in-chief of a publication called Inertia. Several examples are there. And these people are, I find that every 10 people that you talk to or you get into your system, there is a good 25-30% people who are very excited about life in general, about their profession or what they want to do, and they carve their own destiny. It is not that I have mentored them. I think there is a two-way process. They take the whole thing very seriously. They take it as though their life depends on it. They work extra hours. They ask the right questions. They do their research. And they come up in life. So there are several examples. Out of the 30 publications that I launched at Express, and thereafter almost 63, which I did under a company called Strategic Newspapers, at least 400 editorial people must have worked with me. And these people, at least a good 10% of them are leading their own media enterprises.
Okay,
they are very successful.
Yeah, that's very good news. So the whole idea of this show that I call this show radio and TV.
Yeah.
So whole idea of the show is to find these interesting stories to
Yeah.
tell and for people to listen, especially for the young minds,
Yeah.
so that they can think out of box, and if they could at least self-employ themselves, even if they can't create an employment, if they can create an employment is even better. So every week what I do is I invite young people.
Wonderful.
So you are the first person, I cannot call you young, but but you have had
Young at heart.
Yeah, you have had an association with a lot of young people and how to go about. So what is that a young person should need to start something on his own if he has an idea, or what are the qualities that one person should
First,
have?
he has to break out of the old mold. I think he needs to think that he has to be different. In today's competitive world, every youth has to be different. He has to find a differentiator. God has made, in His wisdom, He has made every person unique. He has given them the inner strength, but they are not aware of it. Mentors like us take the best out of youth. When we interact with youth, they see the mentor as a man full of energy. They feel that, yes, this man is going to help me direct my energies. And that's the way I test mentors, that they must help, at least in their lifetime, they must help 10 people to come up in life. So what does a mentee need to do? A person who is being mentored, he needs to be different. He needs to work at a little more extra than the person who just loves to go to a club or a entertainment place. Today's youth is wanting more entertainment, less work. But I think because I started early in my life, maybe I think that way. But I think youth should start early in life. Because ultimately, there is no permanent employment anywhere. Youth have to realize that at some point of time, the whole system of employment is going to go. You have to differentiate your activity, like Professor Iyer has done. He started as a writer, then he is now an owner of a media company. And he's enjoying every bit of it. He takes care for everything. So youth first has to step out of the comfort zone of all other youth and be different. They should not just be going to a club or so. They must engage with people who are running the economy. They must meet people who are policy makers. They must ask them the questions. Journalism gives them the chance to ask the right questions. Now, if supposing a youth takes a general and large area of concern, he cannot attend to it. So he should go by what he is passionate about. If somebody is very interested in agriculture, let him take the area of agriculture as his prime passion area. Let him talk to people who are agriculturists, who are technicians in that area, who are people who have developed the best seeds, the best agricultural techniques. Now, when he talks to people like these, his wisdom comes from the wise. And he starts making a foothold in the area of agriculture. After that, even if he doesn't get employed and he wants to go to these 1,000 people that he has spoken to and starts a small blog or a small online company on agriculture, he becomes very knowledgeable. But it happens because of the perseverance.
Okay.
There will be a lot of distractions, but people need to be very directed. I can talk of several people who have worked with me, and I'm realizing after so many years, my God, these people treat me as mentor. I don't force my mentorship on them. They love to see that I'm naturally helping them to grow their own careers. But their effort has to be there. Without their effort, nothing can happen. So the youth first must step out of their comfort zone, not take the beaten track of other youth, move in circles of their passion. Supposing they are very interested in in logistics industry. They should meet people who are doing couriering business, who are doing logistics business, trucking business, because he should know what's happening around him. That will slowly take him to his area of, expertise, and he will create a business around it. Now, media itself is an interesting business, but I don't say that everybody should be in media business. But this mentoring, which is very silent, is very subtle. A mentor doesn't call himself a mentor till he realizes that the person whom he has trained has become larger than him. And you can see that at the event.
So, the one thing is when we're encouraging people, most of them, or some of them may get encouraged and wants to do things differently or take up an enterprise or a project on their own. But often they are faced with challenges.
Right.
And then when they are faced with challenges, they get discouraged. So what should they do?
One thing is to be excited about life. I think I have seen people who are by and large happy-go-lucky people. They love people. They love their family. They love to talk to their parents. And one thing is each one should talk to his parent and say, look, Pop, I want to do such and such thing. I'm very excited. Though you are a doctor, I don't want to be a doctor. I want to be an engineer. I'm excited about this. Now, naturally, parents love their children. So they are the first mentors for them. So if they're excited about life, they attract people in their life who are excited themselves. So the first challenge is to be a little expressive in what you want to do. A lot of people are introverts. They say, what if I ask and my father doesn't reply? Or if I ask somebody and they tell you have put a stupid question? Now that fear has to go. So a person who is expressing gets the confidence. So I say that you don't lose anything. Put a question to people whom you believe are your closest network. And they will help you. It could be a friend. It could be your girlfriend. It could be anybody. Once you identify what's your driving force, and sometimes you have to look within. What drives me? There is a destiny for everyone. So I think there's a lot of introspection people do. And they can be people who can help such introspection happen. And it happened to me very early. When I left my boarding school, I wanted to do good in the world. But when my grandfather called me, it was a big surprise because he wanted me to work while I was doing my education. Now, I got excited that such a great man is asking me to work with him. So I think you have in your family itself someone who inspires you. And then you should transmit that inspiration and that happiness to people around you. So even your biggest critic will not be very critical of you. So this mentoring process, it starts at home. Actually, it doesn't start from people like us. When I see a person very excited, a young boy coming, studying in a college and says, sir, I'm so happy to meet you. My eyes, I have to prove that I'm better than him. So I start, my whole system becomes, active. And I want to please him. I want to give my best to him. Because I know that seed sown, after 10 years, that fellow will make me remind me, sir, do you know you have met me at such and such time and you spoke such words and after that I'm on my own. So the mentoring process is a very subtle process. It is something that starts from home and you have friends sometimes. Sometimes elders have come into my life who have inspired me. My grandfather, my uncles, my dad, they have told me stories which have inspired me. So I think people have to think of one thing. In the competitive environment, it's your decision. Either you want to take it easy in your early life or you want to put in efforts. I think youth should put in efforts.
Okay. So there's this traditional thought that, that every parent, especially in Bhutan, maybe it was case in India also at one point of time, where they want their children to be a civil servant because
Correct.
that guarantees security.
Correct.
And then maybe it will take them somewhere. This is the thing, ideas that is even here today.
Correct.
So how to get out of it?
I think people just have to say there is this whole old system is going to die. This old professions, so to say. I mean, in India, even IAS service is there. And you say the two states that lead in this IAS, this is Bihar and UP. It's a very interesting study that most of the people because they come from a more difficult background. These are two struggling states. Now, people want to do something. They want to be in administrative services. They started off. This was the Britishers' gift to the country, the civil services. So what has happened is that the old professions are slowly dying out. Not that we won't require, but there are more people than the country requires of civil servants. And maybe there is a change required overall. I mean, civil servants themselves need to go 10 steps ahead because the economy now is just not political. It is driven by economy. It's very important. So I think the youth must look at professions and areas like micro professions. Don't be the best agriculturist. Be the specialized area in agriculture. If there's floriculture, take that area. Be a little different from your others. If you have got 5 lakh people trying to go for IAS or the Bhutan civil services,
exams,
and you just have 10 places to fill, what is going to be happening to the rest? They are going to be feeling dejected. Rather than that, if they say, I'm going to be the best horticulturist in this country, for which his father or uncle's farm is there. Sir, uncle, I'll run your farm. You don't have to pay me anything. Just teach me. And he spends 2 years over there. What will he do? He will start falling in love with that segment. And then he will find a mentor in a university, which is an agricultural university. Now, that is a process that one has to look forth. So when I got into the media line, I was excited about every day at media. And media, there is no boring moment. Everything is exciting. We meet new people every day. And we are excited about their lives.
Did you always want to be a journalist?
Not at all. Actually, it is not just a journalist. I have been a management person plus a person who looked after my publications. So I think it's a very interesting area that today the promoter of the idea is himself a sort of a manager, editor of his concern. I think people have to realize that they have to take onus for the segment they have to. Why do I be the best manager? Because I know if I don't do well enough, my enterprise will fail. It's just not, it's a partnership between a publisher and editor that makes a publication successful. The publisher brings in the revenues and administration. The editor makes so initially we start off with writing, but we end up managing more. Then we get more people on the bandwagon, and these people become our future editors. The typical example is again, Iyer Saab is a domain expert. I brought him into London. Today he is the editor-in-chief plus the publisher of his enterprise. Now he is very excited. There is no boring moment. I might sit down sometime getting bored, but he is always excited. So I think I wanted to get into engineering when I was in 12th. But when my grandfather met me and said, no, you have got to get into business, into this thing that we have started. Then I was inspired. I said, then let me take up something which is simpler. I took up commerce after that.
When you said that you have to, then you got inspired.
It is inspired because what happens, that he was a man who defined journalism in this country. He was one of the boldest press barons in India who fought the
freedom
fighter for the country. He was the man who was the member of the Constituent Assembly of India, which made the constitution. Now, with people like this, when you see, though he's your grandfather, you look at such people when they say you go to the press and do. It's like enough. God telling you, you go there. Now, destiny moved me into that area. But I'm not unhappy. I think with all the trials, tribulations, I'm very happy because today I can influence the life. With my life, I can influence many more. And when I look at people like Professor Iyer, I am very, very, thrilled. I see, my God, what I sowed 25 years back, 30 years back, is a reality today.
So you went on to, you founded 100 B2B publications, and now you're editor of Screen magazine.
I used to be the publisher of Screen. What I'm saying is that it is only now that I'm mentoring a whole lot of business titles, different companies. I'm the executive director of Business India, which is the oldest business publication. My belief is, I don't want to be publishing a political daily. But the economic dailies and monthlies and ideas which I have promoted in the last 25, 30 years, I think is a good example for entrepreneurship, for people who can get into these areas, who can become their own owners and editors for these enterprises. Now, if they do that, they have to be responsible. So it's very important. Journalism doesn't mean you write anything about anybody. You have to be caring. You have to have empathy. So I think this is the full process, and I have enjoyed today as the executive director of Business India. It gives me a large platform.
So, okay, when you talked about empathy and journalism, when you said that we should have empathy in journalism, can you elaborate more on that?
Yes. What happens is that today's journalism basically has been fueled by politics. And most journalists want to become political journalists because they love to hit out at policymakers, at governments, at ministries. What I say is there are many doing that work.
That will also put them in the limelight.
That will put them in the limelight. They'll give them maybe sensation, will give them more TRPs and more this one, but it doesn't help the economy. See, too much of criticism, we always say that when you beat your child beyond a point, he becomes, difficult to manage. I think we have too many people beating
Politicians.
and politicians and talking. So what I say is change the angle from politics to economics. Now my only theory is don't focus on these little things that happen. Let the mainline media take care, because earlier there used to be 4 newspapers in the country. Today in India we have got more than around 20,000 newspapers and periodicals. Now these are all huge numbers. Everybody's journalist's dream is that I have to say something against someone. I'm saying change the angle. Empathy means take an industry, whichever it is, if it is energy, if it is agriculture, and talk about discoveries there. Talk about the exciting things happening. For every one bad thing, there are 10 good things even happening. So it may sound a little that you're going to only talk about good, but I think be critical, but don't break the back of the person.
So we'll have to break that trend from, where we believe that bad news is good for the publishers. And
Yes. I think those days of TRPs and all that are over. And we are coming into a new media called the social media, which is breaking all that. Because social media trends are showing that people are very interested in development. They want to know what's going to happen to my life. They are not bothered which ministry or which person comes into. So here is a great opportunity for people to redefine their career. Today we have got more than 1,000 journalism schools in India. But what are they teaching them? What is the aspiration of the student there? To join a newspaper or to join a television channel as an anchor? But how many channels will absorb these people? So what I say is, at least 50% of them say, I want to be the best journalist for floriculture. I want to be the best journalist for, say, medical science, for life sciences. So let him take up areas and there's good work happening there.
so that is true with in other areas of work also.
Absolutely.
Do you agree?
Absolutely. Person should first look at what he's excited about. Like I'm excited about media. So if I meet a media person, I feel very good. And if I can help that media person to make his media entity more successful. So I'm even mentoring media companies itself.
Okay.
So if there is a young publisher who is publishing, say, on higher education, now I can help him how to design his publication so that it becomes more relevant to him. Now he might be a young publisher but does not know how to make it viable. To make it viable, you have to do work for the industry so that the industry then tells you, because you have done so much work for me, here is the reward. I would like to support this entity. Dr. Saab, our Professor Saab is always looking at, okay, the energy sector, he does for them. Then what do they do? They support his endeavor. So it's a community.
Okay. So apart from family support and the mentoring that is required for the young people, what kind of government support or the environment that should be created so that young people can go out and explore what they have in mind?
I think first the government should see what is the desire of the youth. If some of them want to be teachers, like I've heard that here English is a very interesting language where most of them have taken to English teaching.
The medium of education is English.
So people have gone overseas and they are good English teachers for certain parts. Now I think if they know that these are the fields in which our students have
that is one area. Yeah.
One area. Then they must develop a common environment for people and youth, so that rather than going to pubs and they should come here and spend a lot of time and interact. And then they must create entrepreneurs coming from other parts of the world. They must give them a place to talk to youth. Like in India, we have a lot of interface between industry and this one. I go several times to Amity University or several other places to speak to youth. Now they're very excited because their career depends on, supposing we know that they are good people, and we motivate them, inspire them, then they feel very powerful. Now, government must create an open link, like you had this conference today. We should have invited some of the students from management schools and colleges, higher education, because youth, I am talking that they are already either in the higher education area to come and understand the areas of energy or whatever. So they should be a good facilitator to allow their creativity to go out. Then other is youth exchange program wherein they should go and meet students. And again, media can facilitate this two-way traffic. Like maybe our company or maybe other company can see to it that they get a brief
So
idea.
how
what's
can a
happening.
media facilitate?
Media is huge there. So if you have an exchange program or you have a set of 50 students making a tour of New Delhi, for example, and if I can fix up meetings with at least 10 of the newspapers or magazine groups that they can spend two days and understand how they function. Now, naturally, the youth will get inspired. My God, so much is happening behind the scene to produce that news. Some could be daily papers, some could be specialized journals, and they are all friends. So if they take 1 day or 2 days each out and they tell the students how media can influence society, how they can take either this or a specialized career. Now, all this happens between two countries and it can be facilitated because ultimately people allow or whatever for such things to happen.
You have time and again pointed out that youth shouldn't be wasting their time in pub and discotheques. But personally, when I started, when right after college, I wanted to go to all these places, and before I finally decided to, do something serious.
Correct.
What do you have to say to that? And
No,
a lot of young people have that in mind.
I think we have to change the trend because what is happening? See, for a while going there, you see the same thing happening every day and you get bored. I think it's time now people become more responsible because things are becoming very difficult. Earlier, our parents were well off, they had good jobs. Now it's becoming very competitive. A cobbler's son is becoming a very important. So earlier there were a few privileged people who would get jobs. Today, everyone, if he tries his best, like if there's a person from a rural area who studies very hard, and after his studies even does work, he has a better chance to do more better than a person who is from a richer family. Now he may go to the pubs, but he will not land up with any idea. So I think it is time that it's almost democratized, the whole pattern. If people can move away from the normal path and take the path not taken, they will be different. I am saying you are a small country. You have got very bright students. I have seen many of them. I think they are very good. Physical examples, they have come here. We are talking to them in the afternoon. But I think if they can say what is wrong, I'm not saying don't have fun at all, but at least put some time into interaction, into a business that your father is doing or your uncle is doing or somebody is doing. It doesn't take time. At least for those hours, listen. Sometimes, if I would listen to people in my printing press when I joined it in 1981, that time I was listening. So I listened and got excited. So some things, and if you enjoy your work, then there is no difference between entertainment and work. But I'm not saying don't have fun at all, but be different.
Okay. So when you said that, when you pointed out that they should take a path not taken.
Path not taken, yes.
When you're taking a path that is usually not taken, you come up with a lot of challenges and things. What do you have to say to people who wants to take that path?
People get used to because what happens?
What they have to do when they come up
See,
with
what
challenges.
happens is that when they take the path not taken, first is their friend circle leaves them behind. So they say this fellow is not the very... I mean, you can always divide time and start it. And I'm sure if you push your way through this, after that people know that he's a studious type. He's the type who's going to make Bhutan proud, for example. So, the signs come early. Like the morning shows the day. So the same way, youth, if they can direct their energies, and that time they are very inspired. Supposing I were to talk to a group of youth, they know that they can change their lives, they can change their parents' lives, they can change their universe. They will get very excited. But there is nobody to tell them. Ultimately, sometimes parents think that let them do what they want. Right now, it's their age to work. I think my father told me when I was young, no, you must work while you study. So I didn't probably make the difference between work and entertainment. Even during work, I would enjoy with my friends. I'd have a cup of tea with my colleagues. I learned. So I'm just telling that be different. If today you have to survive in a difficult environment, and a lot of people are there who have started late, but then it's like starting late means you get achieve late even. So if you are a young CEO at 25, for example, and the CEOs worldwide are becoming younger, I think people in their 40s, 50s are only job they have got to be mentors.
Mentors and advisors.
Advisors, because the moment you say I am 50-year-old, nobody wants to hire you.
Yeah.
So the only way you can is to train them, train and with empathy.
You must have got quite a fair idea of what kind of young people we have in Bhutan and the problems associated with it. And then let's not talk about that, but there are goodness about them also.
Right.
It's just that I feel sometimes it's the time, it has to click.
Yeah.
So while we're talking about this, could you briefly tell us about what kind of young Indians, group of Indians, that young people in India? Could you talk about them?
I think
Now,
India,
has it changed over the years? Or?
Oh, it is an amazing country with so many different states. Within the states, you have different cultures. Diverse country. In fact, I mean, if you look at India, you're looking at the universe itself because so many cultures come together. I have seen youth from different regions, and different region gives you a different chemistry. Like there are certain beliefs in the south. There are certain beliefs in... I come from a Marwadi community. Marwadis never work for anybody. So we have to work...
a strict businessman.
Businessman. So what we do is we work in our family businesses, and after that, not that we are averse to work, but the idea is to innovate something where we can get others even. Now, the Tamilians are good workers, very good workers. Kannadigas are very good workers. They want jobs only. So each state has got its own culture. You will not see a Punjabi man work anywhere. It's very difficult because they do their own business, either garage business or whatever it is. So we are already in a country which is culturally so rich. And youth, certain things you cannot change. A Marwadi cannot become, suddenly a person. You can't change him 100%. Maybe a few Marwadis work. So what I'm saying is that we have experience of people in different fields, and we find that, say, the great engineers, many of the states produce great engineers. So we have to look at all that. But one thing is common, that in today's environment, we have to innovate every step. So lots of young people to talk about. And thankfully our education standards are very good there. So we are able to, produce very innovative people. But there is still a thing that there are a lot of youth who are misdirected. So I mean, my whole life's ambition now is to influence youth to do the right things, to be a mentor to people who are already doing some business and work. At this stage, it's difficult to start. But if young people want me as their mentors, I am ready. So I've kept all that open.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll keep that offer in mind. And
Sure.
With that note, thank you for joining us at a very short notice and telling your story to us and sharing your experience.
Wonderful.
And
Thank you.
I hope it will be useful to our young people who are listening or watching this program. So this has been Radio on TV with Mr. Sontosh Goenka. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ashok Tirwa. This is goodbye.